Hey there, Eagles fans. Welcome to the Bird's Nest Podcast. I'm Joe Donahue, and here we are today talking about the Eagles being in the Super Bowl. Yes, it was not a dream. The Philadelphia Eagles are in the Super Bowl, going to face off against the Kansas City Chiefs in 2 Sundays from now. And boy, oh boy, am I excited. It's going to be an incredible game, going to be an incredible matchup. And simply put, we can't wait. The scene in Philadelphia last night was very reminiscent of other times that the Philadelphia sports teams have been in the playoffs. Very reminiscent of 5 years ago. Fans climbing up Chris Code poles. Looking at this team, looking at how we performed yesterday, looking at how we did, I have to say, I don't remember feeling this good about a playoff team. I really don't. I can't remember. I mean, my earliest memories of Eagles fandom was during the stretch with Donovan McNabb and Andy Reid at the helm. Even back then, though, even back in that environment, I don't remember feeling this good. I don't remember feeling all that confident that the Eagles were going to win the playoff games that they won, which was one of the reasons why it made it so much more exuberant. Certainly during the Eagles' magical 2017 playoff run that led to the victory in Super Bowl LII, I definitely didn't feel as confident. I will be the first one to admit I was not sure how Nick Foles was going to do. And so having all of that in context and having 2 very decisive wins over the New York Giants and the San Francisco 49ers, this is a position where, as Eagles fans, I don't think we're familiar with. I don't think we're familiar with this idea that we could actually have a totally dominant team. But over the course of these 2 playoff games, the deciding factor has been these dominant performances. And over the course of even the entire season, starting out 8-0, going to 13-1 before Jalen Hurts had to take a couple games out to tend to an injury. I don't think I've ever felt this confident about a team. Something has to do with the culture. It has to do with the environment, and it has to do with the players that we see on the team. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts as the leaders of the team, and all of the players who are involved doing a really great job of propelling us to this point. So the Eagles entered that game last night going up against the number 1 ranked defense in the league and the number 1 ranked rushing defense in the league specifically. It was an important game for the Eagles to come out and make a statement about whether or not they were going to be the team. And they really did. And it was from that first moment there when they took the when Jalen Hurts marched the team down to the end zone, marched the team down for a touchdown, getting the game started off right. And then the Eagles on the very next drive forcing a fumble that caused the Eagles to have great field position. Unfortunately, they didn't do much with it. After that point, it was a real challenge in the first half. It was really a tale of 2 halves. The Eagles were not dominant at all during the first quarter, besides that first touchdown. It took until late in the second quarter, where the Eagles have been customarily dominant, a quarter that the Eagles have customarily done well in over the course of this season. It took until very late in that second quarter for the Eagles to really start to establish a degree of dominance. And then that progressed into the second half, where the Eagles really did not allow the 49ers to do anything. They did not allow the 49ers to have any degree of command over the game. A lot of that does come from the injuries that the 49ers sustained. Brock Purdy went down on that fumble that occurred during the first drive for the 49ers. Josh Johnson another quarter, the backup to Brock Purdy, who himself was already a backup, also had to leave the game after he sustained a possible head injury that resulted in him going into concussion protocol. Brock Purdy had to come back out into the game, and that completely eliminated a dimension of the game, and it really made the defense's job that much easier because they knew that Brock couldn't pass the ball. The injury to Brock's arm was his throwing arm. He couldn't throw the football. And so when he couldn't throw the football, the only thing that he could really do was hand it off. He could do a couple of short dump offs to nearby receivers, but the deep ball was totally gone. And the Eagles really only had to focus on stopping the run game, which they did effectively. Christian McCaffrey, the running back there, really wasn't able to get much going in the second half. Deebo Samuel as well could not get a ton going in that second half. The Eagles shut down the run game because they knew they didn't have to focus really at all on the passing game. Now, as I alluded to, the defense did a great job. The offense was not as awesome. They got 97 yards off of the pass in the first half, with Jalen Hurts going 13 and 19. But Jalen Hurts finished the game 15 for 25. Those are not great numbers. And credit where credit is due, the 49ers defense did a great job in shutting down a lot of that stuff. But also credit where credit is due, the Eagles made adjustments in the second half to really focus more on the run game, really start wearing down that 49ers defense that was going to have to be constantly on the field because the 49ers couldn't really do anything. Kenneth Gainwell had a standout night, becoming the Eagles' leading rusher through that second half. Finished the night with 14 attempts for 48 yards. He averaged 3.4 yards per carry, but he did a bang-up job in the second half where he needed to. His longest rush was 17 yards. Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts were the next two, tied for 11 attempts. Miles Sanders had a few more yards than Jalen did. Boston Scott had some sightings as well, 6 runs for 21 yards. The Eagles knew what they were going up against. They knew what they had to do, and they knew, very simply put, that they had to come out swinging. And they made this shift. They made all these rushing shifts in the second half. Leading into this game, I specifically highlighted penalties as an area that needed focus in this game. I specifically identified that the Eagles really, really needed to have a tremendous amount of focus on ineligible receivers downfield. It's a side effect of their RPO-heavy offense. Sometimes a lineman may think that there's going to be a run and it's not, and the quarterback still has the ball going to pass, and the lineman gets a little bit too far down the field. In those cases, unfortunately, that's the kind of stuff that needs to be worked out in practice. Now, fortunately, in this game, the Eagles had no such penalties. They did not have the ineligible receiver downfield penalty that I had called out. And in terms of penalties, they only had 4 penalties over the course of the game for 34 yards in total. Meanwhile, on the San Francisco side, their defense, while it was heavily ranked and it did a great job over the course of the game, was not very disciplined. Realistically, the entire team wasn't either. San Francisco incurred 11 penalties for 81 yards, and when you're incurring that many penalties over the course of the game, it's really hard to win the game. It just is. There were comments after the game about the quality of the officiating. Devontae Smith had a really, really incredible reception that was ruled a catch on the field, but in replay probably was not a catch. But the 49ers didn't challenge it. There were comments about the quality of the officiating in this game, but the reality of the matter is the penalties need to be addressed if you're going to win the football games. You're never going to be able to escape them completely. Common moniker among officials is that you can call holding on every play. So you're never going to be able to escape the penalties completely, but the officiating didn't win this game for the Eagles, didn't lose this game for the 49ers. The 49ers routinely had poor discipline in terms of their football fundamentals and playing within the bounds of the rules. The Eagles didn't. The Eagles had the better team. The Eagles had the more disciplined team. The Eagles had the team that really enjoyed being out there. You could tell that, even if it got chippy over the course of the game. The Eagles were having fun out there. 49ers, you could tell, were simply desperate for what was going on. And especially in light of the fact that 2 of their quarterbacks got injured in the same game. That was rough. So where do we go from here? Because this game was an incredibly dominating performance. Where do we go from here? Well, the Eagles have one more game to play in. They've gone as far as they can go this season. They've made it to Super Bowl 57 in Phoenix. 2 Sundays from today, the Eagles will be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and former Eagles head coach Andy Reid. Andy Reid led the Eagles to 3 straight NFC championship games during his tenure, as well as Super Bowl 39. He also led them to another NFC championship game later on in his tenure before he was fired in 2013. Since he was fired, he's been with the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid has faced us 3 times before. He's won all 3 times. He's faced Nick Sirianni last season. He beat Nick Sirianni 42-30. So an Eagles team facing off against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis and Jason Kelce have an interesting dynamic here as they're 2 brothers that are going to be facing off against each other. Travis is a tight end for the Chiefs. Jason Kelce is, of course, our all-star center. It's going to be an interesting dynamic. It's going to be a fun dynamic. Can't wait to talk more about this as we get through, as we keep progressing through this game, through these next couple of weeks, and until we get to Super Bowl 57. It's going to be a lot of fun here in Philadelphia. You've got a lot to look forward to. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to analyze, dissect, match up, discern what's going on with this team. Can't wait. Can't wait for all of those opportunities to come forth. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe as well to us here at Bird's Nest Media on our YouTube channel. You can also visit us at birdsnestmedia.com for plenty of written content. You can check us out on all of the social media. It's Bird's Nest Media in most places. Bird's Nest FB on Twitter. Somebody stole our proposed handle, so Bird's Nest FB is our handle on Twitter. Everywhere else, we're Bird's Nest Media. Check us out. Feel free to like and subscribe on this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joe Donahue, and let's go Eagles.